everybody. I hope it's a beautiful day where you are. It's another beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm really excited about what we've got going on today. Now, if you have joined us for the beginning of our series, it's called What Your Worship Leader Wishes You Knew. What I did is I surveyed all the worship leaders I know, and I know quite a good chunk, and then a bunch of others I don't know so well, but I've got their contact information. So I contacted them all after we've been sitting at home for a while, some opportunities to think about things and learn some new skills, and asked them, this year, what do you wish your singers would come back to church with as part of the worship team? And the list is usually the same, varies a little bit year to year, but this year, the list was markedly different. The order especially. So this year when I did this series, which is in lieu of my vocal boot camps that I do for churches in the fall, I decided I would go number 1 to number 2 and right down the line in order of their importance for you. That's why if you haven't watched episode 1, 2, 3, what are we on 4 today, I think, those will be important because I started with their most important thing and I've gone through them in that order. Now, singers, don't worry. This is not just worship leaders saying, do this, do this, do this, because the last episode, which will be in 2 days, in the last episode, you get a chance to tell your worship leader what you wish they knew. Come on. I know you're thinking some things. How am I going to know what you think? Put it in the comments so that I can go ahead and let them know. Whether you see this live or not, stick it right there in the comments. Are you ready to learn what your worship leader wished you knew about vocal power? You know, as a singer, I never thought my worship leader really cared so much about if I sang powerfully. I just figured they wanted me to, blend, hit the notes, show up on time. And it turns out that worship leaders are a lot more detailed than sometimes we give them credit for. I was on a big worship team once, and I had been on this worship team in this big church for a long time. And just out of the clear blue, the worship leader says to me one day, I know what you are. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? What does he know? He said, oh, you're one of those power singers. And I'm like, dude, I was before you just now let me sing it. So power is something we always want. Power actually is something singers have, and worship leaders don't even know it because they just gave up asking for it. And power a lot of times is something we kind of hold back on. And I will say this is generally true for women in worship teams, in my experience. If they don't come in with some powerful singing experience from outside the church, if then trying to learn to sing powerfully in the church is not only vocally awkward sometimes, but it's also, I'm not sure if they want me to be that loud. So there get to be 2 obstacles to singing with power. But if you've been to any kind of church that's had any kind of contemporary worship in the last 5 years, you realize that power is an essential part of worship. Not only that, but when we sing powerfully and it doesn't hurt, we do it right. Remember when we talked about our story, making our lamb, getting it ready for the offering? This becomes like, it's the difference between watching a jogger run along the road and watching the theme song to Chariots of Fire and watching a runner run along the road. It's pretty powerful. Just saying. Power is powerful. How can we get you some? I'm going to tell you that today. I'm also going to tell you the number 1 reason why singers in the church specifically do not have power, or their power hurts and can cause damage in the voice. And the number 1 thing is something else that worship leaders want us to do. But those 2 things are like oil and water, and one is causing your power to fail. So if you felt like power is a little elusive to you, I'm going to help explain that for you today. I'm Kim Snyder. I'm a professional singer, master level vocal coach, and creator of the Voice Club method. What I do is incredibly unique because of my very bizarrely unique vocal education. I do what no one else really can do. The few in the world that I know that are able to do some of it have told me they would never do because they don't believe you can handle it, and they don't believe you deserve to know. What is that? I believe you deserve to know how to master your own voice and actually know how you did it. If you're going to play guitar and take years and spend tens of thousands of dollars from somebody, don't you want to be able on your time off to know how you did that lick or how you got to that chord progression? Don't you want to know the why behind what works in the guitar and the how you got there? Isn't that like, duh, that should be part of the training? It's not in vocal training. It's not. It's do this, trust me, we'll see. And I think that's just absolutely wrong. So I do something a little different, and I hope that it serves you well. Let's get started on some worship. Power. Ladies, have you ever tried to sing a Darlene Check song? Man, the one that was big in Easter a little bit ago. Darlene Check songs, I'm just going to let you off the hook. Darlene Check songs are the hardest girl songs to sing in worship. Someday I'll tell you why. There's an actual reason why it's really hard for almost every singer to sing a Darlene Check song. There's actually an anatomical reason. Just saying. Don't feel bad you don't have power. If you are new to our channel here on YouTube, please go ahead and click subscribe. If you click that bell, it will notify you when our new videos post. So that's a bonus bell too. And if you want to get some free high-level vocal education, I've got a list that'll go out in your email, train you all sorts of stuff. It's at thevoiceclub.com. There also just happens to be a link there for our brand new free singers community. That'd be great for you to join because some of these episodes have a bunch of bonus information that for time I didn't put in the final version, but they're all in our members community. So that's where you can find bonus stuff. There are very unique challenges of singing worship. If you felt like I can sing good outside the church, I'm okay with my voice outside of church. I go to sing worship and I feel like a failure. It's not your fault. It's not your lack of talent. Worship is anatomically challenging. And I explained some of this in the last few episodes, why it is more difficult to sing. In our power exercise today, we're going to go through the song Waymaker, and I'm going to show you a little bit more of the charting that I do for technique like we did in the other episode. So if you watch that one, you're going to be like, oh, now you're going to guess where I'm going and see what I'm doing in this one. It's going to be helpful, I think. Did you know that it used to be, we think that rock singers have the most vocal surgery, right? Because they're screaming all the time. But it really hasn't been that way for a long time. The people that have the most vocal surgery of all singers has been Metropolitan Opera tenors with all that breast support. See the previous episode. But it hasn't been that way in the most recent history because the people with the most vocal damage have turned out to be worship singers and worship leaders because of the high amount of use on our voice. It's what damages the voice or keeps it healthy will be determined by what you do over the long term and how much you do it. When it comes to power, you are going to be singing songs with power bridges, power choruses all the time when you're on team, and you've got rehearsals. So if you add up all those hours of singing that, if you're approaching power the wrong way, you are setting yourself up for, at the very least, a minimized range. After that, pain and strain. Pain and strain is the body's giant red flashing light to say, warning, warning. And then after that, you don't want to know. But we've had a very unique opportunity during this pandemic, an opportunity to literally hit the brakes, stop everything, unplug without feeling guilty, and look at everything in our life, how we're doing it. My hope is that this series will help you to have actionable tips to look at how you can really bring your own personal testimony to life in your worship team and how you can move past some of those vocal obstacles that keep us from being confident and keep us from enjoying our personal worship in the church. All right? Last episode, we talked about how to make reliable notes that don't just show up sometimes, but they show up all the time for us, and vibrato, how to get one if you don't, and how to control one if you do, because vibrato is a styling tool. It's not supposed to show up when we don't want it, and when it shows up, it's supposed to be there when we choose. Have you ever thought it was possible? It is. It's called vocal control. In this episode, we're going to talk about why those beautiful worship choruses, that breathy, airy thing we all aspire to, is the source of killing your power notes. And then in our vocal quick win tip, I'm going to give you a test, a power test. You're going to test where your power is right now. And then I'm going to make 2 little simple changes, 2 powerful strain stoppers, and we'll put those in place. And then you can test that test with those 2 and see if you get more power and less strain. Should happen for you. Just that fast. Breathy is what kills our power. In the last several episodes, I've gone through some parts of the anatomy, how the voice really functions. And if you think you know how the voice functions, please go back and watch it anyway, because the way I teach anatomy is completely different from anyone I've ever heard do it. And my hope is to not only reveal way more to you than most people know, because I've had access to a lot more information through having my voice completely ended twice. That made me a mad researcher. Most people just don't have a need to go that deep. I had some great learning from some world-class vocal surgeons that work with singers. And I also, as a simple white chick, love to put things in really simple language so that I can make a change immediately, make it actionable for myself, which hopefully will be a benefit to you because it should be simple to understand. But everything I've taught so far is really important because I'm going to build off that today in power. We love power. Worship leaders want us to do it. Although I think sometimes they don't even know if we can. If you're a power singer, you might want to let your worship leader know, hey, I can do that power thing. I didn't even think I had to tell my worship leader I'm a power singer. I figured he'd just find out when I sang powerfully, but he just had me singing soft, breathy stuff. Has that happened to you? This happens especially to women, but guys, this is you too. Like, how do we do breathy, right? We're always concerned about our breath support and our posture and our airiness and our blend and all of these things. These things, with the exception of posture and breath support, please see the previous episode for some mind-numbing information about those. The things like singing breathy, having power, blending, pitch, all of those things are results of a vocal anatomy, like an engine, a vocal machine that doesn't have wrenches thrown into the system. When the vocal engine is allowed to run the way God created it to, those are results. Pitchy is not an issue. Power comes. Softness comes, you can do all those things. So the problem is that everybody else teaches you how to find a new wrench, a new color, a gold-plated wrench. Just put this wrench in there. Oh, here's one that's got diamond-encrusted wrench. This one's better. You pay more for that one. Put it in your engine. But the problem is not that we're not getting high enough price wrenches to put in our system. It's the fact that we're putting wrenches in our engine, and it's not meant to run that way. How we do breathy, how we approach breathy, will determine if our vocal engine can even run like it's supposed to. And the way that, I'm going to say 95 at least % of singers that I've met get to breathy is a way that is throwing a wrench in the system, whether it's a tiny wrench or a big wrench, and long-term with high use, and I've already told you that high use is being a worship leader or being on the team regularly. That is high use for your voice. Over time, that will weaken the strong parts of the muscle that drive the entire engine. So it's important to understand breathy in respect to power. I explained this, I can't remember if it was in the bonus information that went into the members area only or in one of the previous episodes. I think it's in there too. When we get to breathy the wrong way, it undermines everything. And breathy is not meant to start with H. If you'll see in the previous episode when I talk about why H is the singer's biggest enemy. Makes your vocal muscles that run the machine go off duty. They go get a little umbrella drink, go sit by the beach. But if we take the H out and we get something that the muscle can grip into, then it goes, oh, this is my job. I'm going to grip and make sound. And if that sounds confusing to you, please refer back to how I explained how sound is really made in one of the previous episodes. Have you ever had this issue where you go to sing a power note? You're like, I'm really worshiping. Da, 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 da. You go to power and it's like, I hope this note comes out. I hope it's not too loud. I hope it doesn't do that crackly witch thing that I just did. I hope it's going to be there for me. Did you know that you don't have to leave it to chance? It doesn't matter how good of a singer you think you are or bad of a singer you think you are. Your voice is capable of going from really beautifully soft to strong and back pretty easily. It's just hard because of the number of wrenches we have in the way. And when we hear those things falling apart and getting insecure, it's because those wrenches we put in our system, that is training that does not address the way God created the voice to work in the first place. They shift around while we sing, and it makes everything unreliable. If you want notes to show up when you want, how you want, and you should be able to determine that as a singer at any level, and nothing is uncontrollable. And when you go to those power notes, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel like somebody's strangling you. Then what you need to do is look at the difference between volume and power and how to get to power the right way. First, let's take a look at volume versus power. Did you know that they're two completely different things? It's really important to understand how the anatomy works. The amount of volume that we can make is limited by the size and shape of your vocal cords. We talked in depth about this before, so I'm not going to go that deep into vocal cords. Vocal cords are not the star. Vocal cords are just a little piece of the pie. The whole machine behind it all is vocal muscle. But how thick, how long your vocal cords are, and I showed you how to tell how long your vocal cords are, will determine the limits of your power. Now, I know we say, well, if I have a round sound and I see it in a mask, I can feel more powerful. Resonance, again, is something that happens, and can you make it resonate differently? Sure, why not? Whatever. But that has nothing to do with power. It has to do with how the sound kind of is shaped. It's not volume. Volume is limited by our actual anatomy. This is why if you have a really particularly quiet speaking voice or softer than most people, you'll find when you sing with power, it won't be as powerful as a big stinking loudmouth like me. I've always been a loud kid. So when I sing with my power voice, it's going to be loud. You know why? Because I've seen tons of scopes of my vocal cords. They are short and they are fat. And that width of that vibrating mass allows me to get more power. So never compare the amount of power you get to someone else. It is just as unique to you as everything else about your voice is. So power is going to be limited by the actual anatomy within your voice. And it also has to do behind that with the shape that your vocal muscles are in. Remember, it's not vocal cords that do the singing. Vocal cords are what resist the air. So they're kind of like the barn doors that close against the windstorm. Your air from your lungs is the windstorm. But your vocal muscles are the machine that closes the door and keeps them closed securely. That's the vocal muscles. If your vocal muscles are weak for whatever reason, see flipping in the styling tools section of one of our previous episodes. I go into this in a lot more detail. If those muscles are weak in any area, those muscle groups can't trade off because they're not quite sure who to do what to and when and whose job is what, and they're just kind of passing it off to each other, then power, your potential power, is not even reachable. That's why you might feel like you're not a power singer when you really are. It's just that your muscles are not either strong enough or coordinated between the groups enough that they can't effectively be on the same team and say, close those doors. What about what muscles are weak? When muscles are weak, the wrong parts of our body try to make power. This is when strain and pain comes in. If I try to, and we're going to use the song Waymaker a little bit later in charting, but if I go, Waymaker, now I'm making a really extreme example, but some of you can feel what that feels like as soon as I made that example. That's exactly what's happening. When you feel strain, when you feel pain, strain usually comes first, pain, fatigue, going hoarse, laryngitis, all of these things are a result of other things in our body, and it really doesn't matter where it comes from. Anything that's not a part of the vocal anatomy trying to help you sing. Because somehow in your brain's database, we've thrown a wrench in that says, oh yeah, if you'll just, put your shoulders back and lift your chest and take a belly breath and pull the string and yell and do all these things, those are cheats to get to a result, and that path will cause damage. If you go long enough at a high enough use, that's why metropolitan tenors opera tenors. They sing as airy as you can get. That's why they have the most vocal damage. So you just got to let the facts speak for themselves, not a whole bunch of people that wrote something down and just repeated it over and over and over and over. We need muscle to make power. We need muscle to make strong, reliable notes, like we talked about before. Muscle in the vocal cords, just like your legs have two muscles, your arms have two muscle groups, your voice has two muscle groups, your vocal muscle. Both of them not only need to be strong, but they need to be coordinated and flexible. They need to know who does what and when. Without that, we get the wonky middle. Have you ever felt like you have two voices? I got my strong voice, I got my airy voice, I got my power voice, I got my airy voice. And you just try to negotiate between those two and hope the right one comes out at the right time. It's not because you don't have it in you. It's because those two muscle groups probably aren't strong enough and they don't know who's supposed to do what. So they can't work together to make soft and strong at will, low or high. That's what's going on there. And to be able to transition from soft to strong. My favorite kind of song, and if you want to challenge your power, do this. My favorite kind of song is a power ballad. We have few of these. I love Darlene Zschech for this reason. She does beautiful power ballads in worship music. But just to go with the most known power ballads, I think of Celine Dion. People are like, oh, I don't want to sing a Celine song. That's so hard. There's a reason it's hard. She is a master of power ballads. She's got great control of her vocal muscle, and her vocal muscle is a machine. Did you know that Celine Dion doesn't talk during the day? She actually uses sign language. She actually uses sign language with her children so that she can rest her vocal muscle. She gets it. She understands the anatomy. She keeps the humidity at a certain percentage. Why does she go that far? Because she has an extremely high use of that part of her body, and you have to care for it. It's anatomy, and she gets it. And that's what enables her to be able to do those incredible songs. If you try to sing, regardless guy or girl, pick any key that's comfortable for you. The key really doesn't matter. But try to sing the melody to a Celine Dion song and go from the soft parts to the power parts. That is an easiest way to test where your power is at, to see how easy or not it is to switch between soft and strong. Do you want to know how to test where your power is now? I've got that and 2 powerful strain stoppers. They're coming up in our vocal quick win tip today. Real quick, I wanted to let you know our last episode, which is in 2 days. In our last episode of the series, I want you to tell me what you want your worship leader to know. What is it? Do you wish they'd understand about you as a person, as a team member, as a singer? Because that can really help your worship leaders. A lot of times we don't say those things because it's just kind of an awkward situation. So let me do that for you. Leave in the comments what you would like me to tell worship leaders that you would like to know, that you would like them to know. What comes to mind right now? Go ahead and put it in the comments. All right. There's a reason that we train the vocal muscle, and I am not doing this series to try to get students. I only take on 1 or 2 at a time anyway. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. I really am just trying to serve the worship community because that's my passion. There is no deeper reason to sing than being a worship singer. We have not an audience. We don't work for the approval of people. We have the audience, the creator of your individually unique voice that designed every little bit of it to be unique just to you. You get to show him what you've done with it. And we get to honor him while doing it. That's just like the best of the best. Are you ready for the test? All right. In our vocal quick win tip today, this is where we're going to spend most of our time. I'm going to show you in Waymaker. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to show you in Waymaker how we're going to test our power to see what it's like, and also put those 2 strain stoppers in place. Now, if you sing with power and you don't have any strain at all, this is still going to show you something because I am going to purposefully make you fail a lot. Please see Plan to Fail in one of the previous episodes. Planning to fail is really important. When we train singers, or when I train singers, let me say, my goal is to make them fail as much as possible. Failure for the sake of failure is just discouragement. But failure for the point of slowing us down and showing us what our voice is doing wrong, where the wrenches in the system are, identifying the wrenches, and then showing you how to pull the wrenches out. That is opportunity. I'm going to give you a couple opportunities. So in the exercise I'm going to give you today, you should fail. And if I do my job, you should feel horribly. And if you do it exactly like I say, it should not be incredibly lovely. So know that going in. We're not going for the loveliest thing you've ever done. I just want you to let your voice go, do what I say, and see what happens, because that is going to be your personal vocal education. All right. I want to switch over to my lyrics here. I've got Waymaker marked out, and if you looked at, I can't remember which episode it was, we went through another song. We went through What a Beautiful Name It Is, and I showed you some charting things. I'm going to build off that a little bit today. We're going to talk about what we talked about with reliability and vibrato, but it's basically the same thing. It's stability. Okay. We have Waymaker. Now I picked this one because it is one of the worst songs for people to sing power in and have pain and strain. Side note, in one of our previous episodes, I was going to pick Waymaker when I was talking about singing your story, not the song of the author. And I was going to pick up Waymaker, but then I read the lyrics and I realized there's not really a story there. That should be a cue, I think, to a lot of worship leaders. If there's no story that we can connect with our walk with God, what's the point of it? But Waymaker is a great example of pulling and splatting and doing all sorts of strainy things with power. So it's serving a purpose. I like the song. I think it just needs a few brand new verses. Okay. If you've ever sung this song before, you've probably had this issue. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Now, if you're not watching this live, hey, Faith, if you're not watching this live, then after I give you the direction, and for those of you who are here live, when you go back to the recorded version, do this. It'll be a great exercise for you. I'm going to have you sing that chorus in 3 keys. Don't get out an instrument. You don't need to know any musical anything. All you need to do is sing this starting in the first comfortable key that your brain picks. Your brain will always pick a safe place for you. So the first key that comes out of your brain is your brain putting you in a safe place. It's incredibly smart, that brain, when we don't put wrenches in the system. You will sing first. You'll sing, Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are, at least through that part. Okay? And then you'll take it up, and it doesn't have to be a half step, whole step, whatever, but I want you to take it up a good chunk. 2 more times. So if I started Waymaker, my brain knew that would be a super easy place for me. By the way, if your worship leader says, what's your key? There is no magic key. Sing a song just off the top of your head. Your brain will pick the best key for you. And then you say, well, right about here. You don't have to give them a key. They'll find it. And that'll be a good place for you. Just saying. Okay. When we do Waymaker, I'm going to pull it up. Now I would stop and I would say, okay, that's where my brain put me. Now I'm going to bump it up higher. And in the recorded part, this is where I would have you pause it, take it up a notch, stop it, and sing it. Remember, I'm designing this to make you feel. Okay? So I was at way. I'll go there. Waymaker. I always forget the second phrase. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. So then I'll take it up a lot more. Way. So you'll pause and you'll take it up. Probably not as far as I have, because it'll probably hurt. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. Oh, Coach has got an issue. I could tell you exactly what went wrong there, but we don't have time for that. We're not in that lesson, but I bet Faith knows. Faith was in our Voice Club Academy. I bet you know exactly what I did wrong there, Faith. Leave it in your note and think about it. Make your first guess, put it in there. I bet you're right. Promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. All right, so that's getting high for me, right? Now, if you stop in between, just sing the first few lines of Waymaker, the chorus, ratchet it up, and go for power. Now, if I went for power the wrong way, here's what would happen. I'm going to go at the beginning. Waymaker, da 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 da. Now I'm going to take it up, and I'm going to do it the way most singers will do it. See, you do. Did you post it? You got to post what I did. Catch the coach. I'm just a human being singer too. If I approach it the wrong way, it's not going to come out right in my voice either. So I want you to post it, Faith. I'm testing you right now because you're a super smart Academy member. So if we take it up now and I sing it like most singers will approach it, male and female. Way, 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 waymaker, promise keeper, worker. Need to learn it. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You know, it doesn't sound horrible. I hit the notes, but I can feel it. I can already feel it in here. So I'll take it up to the impossible. Okay? Hopefully it's not too loud for you. Way, 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 way. I should really fail now if I do it wrong. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Now, if you sing it the wrong way high enough, you should be feeling that. I modified a teeny tiny bit because since they sliced through my entire vocal cord and muscle, I have a mass of scar tissue. And if I do full on the wrong way, it hurts like a bugger. Okay, so that's about as close as I'm going to get. Oh, you did not say that, Faith. You did not say BS. Breast support. You did not say that. I'm going to do my mistake again, Beth. I'm sorry, Faith. Promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God. It's the same thing I'm doing wrong now. There's a couple terms we use for this, and please understand that terms that anyone uses, more than likely, is just one definition of a million different definitions out there for one term. Never marry yourself to a vocal term. I found out the hard way, nobody has a concise definition for anything. Anything. It's crazy. So instead, they'll learn muscle parts, or they'll learn, scientific names, and that makes us smart, but it doesn't make us sing better. So don't worry about the words, some of the terms I'm going to use. It's just a way a road to kind of run out the information on. If we pull, and by pulling, I mean that we have outside, it's called extrinsic muscle, outside the vocal system muscle. Anything in your body that does not belong in your vocal machine, if that tries to help you sing, the result is a strangled voice feeling. Let's see if you got it. You're close. It starts with a P. I'll give you that. It starts with a P. If we take this and we get at it the wrong way, then all those outside muscles are going to come in, and that's what you feel. You feel strain and pain because your vocal machine is being literally crowded out by other things in your voice. I will give you an extreme example of what happens in the voice when you let outside things get into your vocal machine. Right now, just say A, B, C, D, E. Everyone? Good. Now swallow. I'm going to do it while I take a drink. Perfect. Now do them both at the same time. You can't. Why? Because one body system makes sound. That's the vocal machine. The other body system is controlling food, and it will shut the flap off on top of the vocal machine in order to do it. When we add outside anything, and it usually comes from all these millions of singing rules and do it this way and add that and stand this way and whatever that way and squeeze this muscle and do this and whatever. Anything that we do that adds outside muscle literally crowds in and begins to close off the literal epiglottis. When the epiglottis is just the flap at the top of the food pipe and the windpipe, when it starts to close over the windpipe, which will happen when outside muscle comes in, it goes, oh, I guess we're like swallowing. So it'll start closing that, and that literally shuts off your vocal machine. But your vocal machine knows it's supposed to be working, so it struggles to keep that little flap open. And that is the literal strain that you feel. You are literally strangling your voice, and that's why it feels that way. Over time, that causes tension and all sorts of muscle issues. Can be in the neck, can be actually in the ears. It can happen in the forehead. It's crazy to watch. Let's see. Humility. Barbara Ann. If you've been where I've been, there is no place, one space up from the ground level of humility to live. There is so much wrong in my voice before I knew some things now, but I think about every singer I've trained is better than me. That's the goal, right? Everybody's got more potential. So if we take Waymaker, I've made some notes for you. if you watch the episode, I talked about stability. We talked about reliable notes and vibrato. Then you'll understand what this is. First thing we have to do in Waymaker is to make sure we get muscle to do its job where we need. Okay? This is a 2-phase plan. Actually, this isn't even my 2 tips, but I'm going to show you step by step how we're going to do this. All right. So we've got Waymaker. And again, when you do this, if it's easy, just pull it up a few keys so that you can feel where the strain is, then implement these changes. Let's see, I put this here. Look, I made you some notes. Way. Now, Faith, you will know what it is now. You should have this from this hint. Okay. Waymaker, miracle worker. You don't sing it like that, but that's what's happening underneath the surface. Sometimes you'll see this in people's faces, but a lot of times it's just happening. Very, very close, Baran, but not. I bet Faith wins this round. Okay. Way. We can't do that. First of all, we know from our last session that W is where way, that's where we get our power. Because if we go, Waymaker, blah, 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 H opens the vocal cords and then they don't sing. Okay? So we need to dig into something. We need the muscle to grip onto something. It's going to grip in and hold tight on the W. Waymaker. But if we let the A, see, I got a capital A there. Right. There. Capital A's, when I write them, mean something. Hint, hint, hint. Yes! 5 gold stars that mean absolutely nothing to Faith. She got it. And I will tell you what she said. Matter of fact, I will show you what she said. Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Splatting. Here we go back to terms. Now, Faith is going to explain it for us. What is splatting, Faith? Let's see what she says. Yes. Now, it is, but not all vowels go wide at the same time, but there's some that tend to go really wide. So only if you're having issues with power and it strains, then you say, what's in my way? A, E, I, any of those extreme vowels, when it hurts, when it's hard, look for those. It's not in every word, on every note, everywhere. It's very specific to when they're strained. So we need to take that A out, and we're going to just narrow it. We want to take the A that wants to be super important and we're going to make it less important. We're going to move it to the backstage. The W is going to move forward as the star because that's what the vocal muscle does. A wants to get involved with other muscles until your voice is to the point, and usually that takes the right training or that you haven't messed your voice up in the first place to get it to that point. But I can sing an A now and not splat on it vocally. I can go, Waymaker, miracle worker, light in the darkness. I can do that without splatting because if I were splatting, that means the outside muscle coming in to stretch that vowel because it thinks it can't get there any other way. Waymaker, miracle worker, light in the darkness. So mouth is about the same, but it's what's happening down here that will determine how painful that's going to be, and if I can even get to the next part, or if it falls apart and gets light again. Has that ever happened? Yes. So we take the W is where we're going to lock in that muscle, like we talked about before. And the A is our problem. The A right now is one of our wrenches in the system. So we're just going to say, you can't be so important. Does it narrow? Some people will teach vowel narrowing. You don't have to narrow every vowel the right way at the same time. All you have to think about, and this is a much more concrete way to do it if you don't have a private coach that knows what they're doing, is just say, take that vowel and make it very unimportant. Take the place where the muscle grips onto and make that very important. And if you'll just say, way, we hear A, right? But it's not way, it's way. So I wrote it this way, phonetically, way. Put a tiny A when we lift off, right? Waymaker, Waymaker, Waymaker. Same thing. Waymaker is super high, but if I go Waymaker, then I got outside issues, and that will impact everything else. And I won't always get to that note the same way, and I won't always hit that note because I'm getting at it wrong. All right, so we got Waymaker. And by the way, if way gets wimpy, you have a backup like we talked about the other day. You don't have to do both of these, but if way is wimpy, I always say mark a backup because chances are when you're getting used to it, you're going to need some place to recapture when you're singing live. Maker happens to be another splatter. We can dig into the M, and instead of maker, we can go maker. Now we're not going waymaker. We're going waymaker, micker. The A comes out of the very last sentence. But if you think that vowel, the problem is everything that we've been told growing up through formal education tells us that we sing on vowels. We do not sing on vowels. It is anatomically not correct. Somebody just picked that up as a guess sometime and put it in a book. I'm not joking. This is how we get our vocal education. The whole reason I do this. It is not true. We make sound by the vocal muscle closing the vocal cords. The vocal cords resist the air. That means that sound begins when the vocal muscle closes. The sound begins on the consonant. That's why we want to just reprogram our database and say that, yeah, E is another one. You're absolutely right. That we just make A as E, I, something like that. Throw it away. Just think of it that way. Okay, so we've got that one. What happens when we have another problem when we get to the next line? Waymaker, miracle worker. By the way, if you narrow waymaker, miracle will stay narrowed too. If you find that miracle goes wide, it's because you didn't narrow your way. Okay? We have another problem here, and it's in another color. And as you know, I like to color code. So this is a different problem. We have an L. We talked about this again in Reliable Notes in episode 2, I believe. Light. Now we have a problem because we can't dig into L. If we can't dig in, we can't get power. So what is power? It's when the mass of the vocal muscle squeezes tight against the vocal cord, and that allows it to resist more air, not more air, but it resists more the air that is there. That is what creates the sound of power. But we have an L. An L is a soft consonant. It's right up there with H, and it'll let us leak out all our air. So we have to do something. We have to correct this one. We have to say, don't try to look, because that's not going to happen. And if you do a look with power, it does exactly what you're hearing in my voice. It says, I can't. Let's get some outside guys to come in and crash our pool party and see if they can help. But they can't. So the result is strain, or at least an awkward power. Okay. So we don't do that. That's not what the voice is going to do. The voice is going to be able, the muscle's going to want to squeeze on a I. But we have a double problem here because I can go I splatter. That's right. Great. So we're going to just narrow light. When we say light, what happens is light. E comes in at the very, very last second. So we're going to sing light. When you go back to the strong vowel, the E, the I, the A, it's at the just as you're coming off the note. The rest of it is going to be narrowed. So we'll go light. And if you see down here, I put light for those who are like, some people will go and sing Lord of the Darkness. No, don't sing that. Light. If you'll say it like that several times and then sing it back and forth, it'll be easier. Because right now your brain doesn't have a reference for how that sounds. Okay? Light in the darkness. Light in the darkness. Light in the darkness. We can do that. But if we go, light in the darkness, ain't no way I'm going above that. So when a guy is singing it and they're going to put it in a guy key, that's a whole different talk about what the right key is for everything. And there is a solution to that too. But as it stands, almost always the guys will put it in the key where it makes it just brutal for girls and vice versa. And if a guy's leading, guess what, girls? We're in trouble unless they know what they're doing. And when it comes to choosing keys for the anatomy of the voice, and it's just not taught, except for I do it. So, okay. So now we say, oh, we've identified that. Now that's going to be a problem, a power problem too. So then I've got to the next line. Waymaker, light of the darkness. My God. Oh, guess what happens here? We have a beautiful M. My. But now we have an I. My God. We got to narrow that. So we'll do the same thing. My. Turns into, my God, that is who you are. And you're not going to be singing it that high anyway. I just want to go super high so you can hear the fail really clearly. My God, that is who you are. Okay, here's a little Hillsong information you never knew. Is there a reason that Hillsong sounds so great, even with their soft vowels and all of that? And is there a reason when we sing Hillsongs that we like it more? There actually is an anatomical reason. When we get to accents, accents decide how we speak different vowels. I had a student once from a certain part of Africa, and she said every English vowel in that place in Africa has 12 subset vowels. So we ended up on a whole vowel study in order for me to help her sing some African things. I had to learn all the 12 subsets of each English vowel. Like, I didn't even know there was that many out there. But how we say things in different accents will determine how difficult some of these things are for us. And I will tell you that if you are a true West Coaster LA or a Southerner, these splatters are going to be harder for you just because of your accent. Hey, y'all, right? Or Valley Girl, like, ew. Right? Those are wide. Those are wide vowels. So when you go to sing and you say, I'm going to do how I say it, how you say it is already pretty wide. But when we get to Australians, they are naturally narrow. And you'll see them, when you see them sing, you don't see them going, like Americans do. You just don't see that. They're like, they just look so relaxed. It looks so easy when they do it. Like they just must be better singers than Americans. And I'm not taking anything away. That group in Hillsong is some very, very finely trained singers. And I can tell you why, because our Darlene Scheck knows what she's doing and has really built up that vocal ministry. And really, as a professional singer previously too, she has done a lot of work to make sure that there's not vocal damage on her team and to prevent those issues. That's one of the reasons you won't see a lot. But another reason that she didn't even have to address, that the rest of us have to, is accent. The American accent tends to go much wider on those vowels. But when we watch them sing it and when we listen to them sing it, we don't hear wide vowels like if you listen to an American singer. So we will not try to copy that. We'll just be like, hey, it's a Hillsong, so we're all chill. And guess what? Then the outside muscle doesn't try to squeeze in our vocal area. And then we have less pain and strain. And we're like, man, I don't know why those Australians are so good. I had an Australian student for a while. Oh, she was wonderful. And I told her, I said, I can skip this, because of your accent, you don't have these issues. The most balanced vowels I find in the world so far are Canadians. Oh, so think like a Canadian. Oh, hey. Okay. So if we were going to fix this, now we fixed Waymaker. Miracle Worker will be fine if we fix Waymaker. Light, we'll fix the rest. We won't go darkness. We'll go darkness because we've gone light. As soon as we set the stage for the line, remember, whatever you do when the muscles first close will carry through till you breathe again. This is another reason to not breathe for as long as you need a breath. If you get good cord closure, hang on to that baby because you can ride that out until it fills up with gas again with a breath. So we just need to fix the very first part of the line. If you find a problem in the middle of the line, it means you haven't fixed the beginning of the line. Okay, my God, that is who you are. And then it just repeats, Waymaker, light, my God. That literally will fix that. But now, let's give you two more. All right, let me check real quick what Barbara Ann has. Sometimes you hear a song, you can sing it one way and it sounds so high. If I sing it another way, the same notes is not as high. I haven't been able to articulate the why. Oh, girl, I'll tell you why. Happy to tell you. Why is it that sometimes you'll sing something and it feels so high? Someone will be like, sing it in this key, and your brain immediately goes, not gonna happen. It's not the note. It's how we approach the note. Just like if I go, Waymaker, miracle worker, light in the darkness. If I were singing that as a habit, or most often, then my brain is going to say, there ain't no way you're going to sing that note. But if I'm in the habit of approaching that note, Waymaker, light in the darkness, a miracle worker, light in the darkness, then my voice is going to say, sure, you can do that. It has everything to do with the brain, not the note. When you hear a key and you think it's too high for me, it's not that it's too high. What you were given at birth is a minimum of 3 octaves. And a lot of people will test their range and say, I have 3 octaves, but you have to test every single note in the range because more often than not, most of us are missing parts of or the entire middle section. It can be up to an octave missing. Not missing meaning not there, but completely unstable and unreliable. Which notes are always there for you? Always reliable. No problem. Sometimes you need a little quick fix, but 9 times out of 10, they're solid. That's what you count as your range. I should link to this, our range test, because it's different than anyone else. So the why, Barbara Ann, The why it's hard sometimes and not hard is because we're involving outside systems and it's crowding into your vocal machine and it's making it difficult. But this happens. This used to drive me crazy too. As a professional singer, before I really knew what I was doing, I'd be like, I practiced this, it was fine. And then when I went to go live, it hurt. A lot of times it's because we're singing what we feel is powerfully alone in a room. But when you get with a band, you're going to sing that at twice the effort, however you were approaching those notes, even if it was incorrectly, but we do it at a lower volume. Remember, we talked about volume versus power. If we reduce the volume, you won't feel the effects of it as much. But then we go with a band and we up the volume. Then everything that you're throwing into it, you will feel a lot more. Is that what's happening? Is it when you go from being alone to when you're in the band, or is it different time you're running through songs? Because that's what's happening. If it's when you're at home, it's easy. When you go to the band, it's hard. It's happened to me a lot. If it's you alone all the time, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. It has everything to do with the way that you're approaching notes. The problem is we haven't been given tools to figure out how we're approaching notes. So the realization that we're approaching them wrong isn't really helpful. These things, as we're narrowing these things and finding out what to do with those, how to narrow the splatters that are in our way of the power. When we narrow those, what happens is these outside extrinsic muscles, other parts of the body, literally are forced to back off. Just like when we go, the vocal muscle is forced to back off. When we take the power away from outside muscle, the outside muscle needs a really good kind of something wide to yank on. When we take that away, they can't really crash the party because they don't have a way to get through the door. Yes, exactly. That's what happened to me all the time. At home, I would even be singing at, like with all the power I can muster, I get in the same key with a band and it's 10 times harder. And I'm like, why? What did I do wrong? And then I'm thinking, style thing. Yeah. The way you style a song, if you style it differently in the band, which should happen if you're telling your story, you're singing your story through the song, like we talked about in previous episodes, then your styling does modify as a soloist. Now, it's not always supposed to as a backup vocalist. We'll talk about that on our teamwork section next time. But if your trills and stuff move a little bit, how you get to them can undermine your power on the rest of it. And that's why it's so important to understand, is my vocal machine running, or is somebody trying to crash its party, or wrenches trying to get in there and try to help it along and it can't run like this? If it feels easy and it's powerful, then it's running the way it should. If it feels easy and it's powerful and all of a sudden, eek, that's something outside squeezing in. That means that the brain doesn't know in its singing database. It's not sure which information to pull up. And chances are very, 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 very high that your brain, like mine was, is filled with wrenches from all the other singing tips and training you've ever had in your life. The more training you've had, the more wrenches you have. That's what my 10 years of experience has proven. Then it's going to say, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and your brain will pick different things from its database because it hasn't decided what is true and it hasn't had a chance to prove it and test it. That's why testing is so important. Okay, now I'm going to give you 2 things that anyone can do, regardless of what kind of singer you are. They're outside tips that you can do that will improve your power. I've already shown you in the voice how to correct to get that outside stuff out of our system, our vocal system. We narrow those things that the outside stuff wants to just crash through the door with. We take the power away from it and we give the power back to the vocal muscle by digging into the right place. Now, let's do 2 things. I'm going to pause for a minute, and all of you who are with me, I want you to pick whatever your brain thinks is a high key, and just sing the first couple lines from Waymaker, Miracle Worker, Promise Keeper, Light in the Darkness. Go ahead and do that now. I wish I could hear you. Now, chances are you've already started to fix some of those things, right? Did you do better than you usually do when you sing it high? Let me know. Now we're going to implement step number 1. It's a great strain stopper. And that is to drop your chin. Everybody wants to do this when we're singing, especially when we're worshiping like this. Now, I'm not saying you can't do this and sing in a perfectly balanced voice with your full power. It's absolutely possible. But if you're having strain in your power notes, to do this is going to engage and invite, it like sends out evites to all of these extrinsic parts, these outside parts, and says, take over, take over. And that makes power even harder. Has that been an issue? Especially Barbara, I want to know, since you've said this has been an issue in rehearsal and stuff. If you've lifted your chin, it will make it, like we don't at home. We're like looking down at lyrics, da, 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 we're singing powerfully and great. We get with a mic, we do this. This, if you have a strain issue with any of your power, or even if it's uncomfortable, singing correctly is easy. You'll be shocked at how easy it is. It's just amazing. But if you feel like it's hard, if it's hard, then you've got outside guys trying to barrel into your vocal machine and help it along, and it doesn't want their help. So what do? We put the chin down. Where do we put the chin? Down here? Because I used to do this. This is my chin down. If you hold, and I don't have a lollipop mic with me, but generally we have a lollipop mic, a mic like this. You want to think of where does your chin go, whether your mic is on a stand or you're holding it. We usually think our chin is down if it's here, but our chin should be below the mic. That means that you will aim your mouth at the bottom corner of your mic. It will feel like you're singing like this if you usually sing like this. It feels extreme. But guess what happens if you'll do it? Now, if you don't do it enough, like this is how I used to put my chin down. And then I put my chin down like this. That won't help you either, because that'll wake up these guys. But if you'll put your mic down a little bit, set your mic lower. And sound people, if you're a sound tech or you're married to one or you know one really well, tell them, set the mics about 2 to 4 inches lower than you usually do. Everybody will sing better because they won't be doing this, okay? The mic, I always remember my mic goes lower than feels comfortable. Always lower than I feel comfortable. Because then in order to sing those power notes, I got to go, my God, that is who you are. Now I want you to say, light in the darkness. We'll even start there since most are girls, but if you're a guy, pick what's high for you. But I want you to do light in the darkness and do it with your chin up. Do it right now. How'd that feel? Now, same notes. I just want you to put your chin down like you're on a 6-foot stage and the people are down at your feet and you're going light in the darkness, and do that. How did that feel? Leave me a note in the comments. It should feel easier. And that is the proof of something that is working correctly. Ready for another one? Our next and last strain stopper is splatters. We've talked about these a little bit. I should have done splatters first. Splatters are what we've talked about already. Usually they're an A, E, I, Y. It doesn't matter, but I have personally been able to strain just about any vowel in the language. And I know anyone that has like a, hi, it used to be Valley Girl back in the day, but it's, yeah, thank you. Yes, it does work. It's anyone that tends to go wide in vowels. Sometimes this has to do with the country that you live in. Different languages that you speak will determine how wide your vowels go. How do you know which one and how and when? The rule is when you talk like you're tired. And I put this extra note in there for those who probably have if you're Southern or you live in LA, or some New Yorkers will pull some things extra wide. So think about you when you're just really tired at the end of the day and you're just talk through those lyrics that are straining for you. Waymaker, miracle worker, light in the darkness. And then slow down how you say it. Light, light, light. Slow it down as much as you can and see how you say it before you sing it. That will give you the ability to do kind of what I did already by finding where we need to relax some of those things. You can make your own phonetic little key. I have ways of narrowing things. There are people that have rules of narrowing and things like that, but the reality is that rules don't apply to every vowel in every song and every key. They change depending on how you approach the note, how you sing, what key it's in, how you're singing, your styling. Yes, all of that stuff changes. So you can't just blanket approach a quick tip to vowel narrowing. But with the things that strain, if you'll think of yourself just really chill, I usually like taking a big breath and relax. like you're just slushing down into a big comfy chair. Say the words as slow as you can, the ones that have the most strain. Light. And that's what I did. Oh, look, my assistant says I need to hurry up. When you go through your strain parts, circle them on your lyrics. Where is it uncomfortable? Even if it just happens sometimes, because if it happens sometimes, it will happen again in a band. And then say them, take a deep breath, relax. How do I say that if someone were to put me in 0.5 times speed like you do on YouTube? If I slowed it way down, how do I comfortably and easily say that word? Then write that in a way that makes sense to you. And remember, that will be useless unless you know where the vocal muscle has to grip. It's not in the L in this case, it's the I. So I underline the L because that is the problem. And if I were going to mark, because I like colors, that is actually where we get chord closure. Lie. If I go light in the darkness, we're going to have a problem. Light in the darkness. Now, did you see the volume came with the power? But volume likes, it's like a tag along. It's like a little brother. It likes to get a piggyback ride on power. Volume likes to come along with power, but volume doesn't have to be with power. So if you know where to engage a vocal muscle, super important. And the strain parts, you just take the power out of those by doing your sleepy say-so. That will really help. Okay, I want to mention, thank you, Barbara Ann, for the idea to maybe do a live class. If you're interested in doing a once a week class with just some other worship singers and work through your stuff in detail, maybe we'll do 4 weeks of 1-hour lessons for $50. I need to have you let me know in the comments, and then I'll do that. All right. So let me know if you're interested in that. And in our next class, we're going to do powering up your team. We're going to talk about what are the roles, the responsibilities. Most churches don't really make these clear, but I'm going to take everything I've learned working with dozens and dozens and dozens of churches and what I found out basically by having to observe and being on the other side, having to try to figure it out myself. If you feel a little lost, you're not sure who to ask what and if it's appropriate and all that, you're not alone, but I've developed a system for that too. So I'm going to share that with you, how you can be a more effective part of your team. Who do you ask about what so that your team can grow and you can try these things that you're getting really good at instead of just waiting for somebody to ask you. I hope that will really serve you well. All right. Any questions before we go today? I'm going to give you a second to post your questions. Is there a part of any song that you can think of that you have a strain issue with your power? Dum 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 da 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 dum 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 bum ba da bum 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 bum. Time's up. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. And thank you for everybody who's watching it later. I hope this really serves you. The goal of worship is to be able to do way more than singing. But if we don't remove our obstacles to being a confident singer, then it is really difficult to get through to the rest. And just having someone tell you to get up there and authentically worship and spend more time in prayer is a nice thing to say, but it's really hard to put into action just from that. So I hope these actionable steps are really going to help you to unlock some of those things so that when you get back to your worship team, maybe you're already back, lucky, then you'll really be able to really authentically worship and really enjoy watching what God is doing in unlocking those wrenches from your voice. You were born to be a singer. The only reason you don't like what you don't like is you've just got some wrenches in the system. Most of them were put there without your knowledge and without your permission, quite frankly. Everything you read on the internet, everything you hear from a supposed expert on a panel in a singing show, which I've almost never heard anything that's correct from any of those people. All of that stuff gets filed in your database. Thank you guys for joining me. I will see you tomorrow, and we will dig into how to be just a superstar team member. All right. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Bye.